Big trade news today in the NBA as the Lakers trade D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 second-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets for Dorian, Finney-Smith, and Shake Milton. The type of move that, honestly, as a pseudo-Lakers fan of sorts, kind of, just because I'm a big LeBron fan, I like. Honestly, I think this is a good trade. I think this trade improves some of the Lakers' biggest weaknesses without hugely damaging some of their strengths, and also one of the most important things that I like about this trade is that they did not give up a first-round pick. The asset management in this trade I thought was pretty darn good. So before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 2,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I'm uploading every single day, multiple videos a day on the NBA all over. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it and let's discuss. So first things first, the fact that the Lakers were able to add a guy in Dorian Finney-Smith who is an elite 3-and-D role-playing veteran, guy who has been in the league for a long time, has won at a high level. He was a starter and a key member of the Mavs roster a couple years ago that made it to the conference finals. I think he's one of those guys who is honestly a little bit underappreciated as an overall player around the league, but I do think as a veteran presence who's been there, done that at a high level, he's the type of guy who you can add into this Lakers roster, and he will be a pretty seamless fit. Not a guy who needs the ball in his hands a ton, doesn't have to have super high usage, but he's going to shoot the three at a really high level, and he's going to defend his butt off on the wing and provide some versatility and switchability in terms of point of attack defense for this Lakers roster that honestly they don't really have. Giving up D'Angelo Russell, I actually think hurts a little bit more than probably a lot of Lakers fans feel. I know there are a lot of Lakers fans that are sick and tired of D'Angelo Russell and sick and tired of some of the bad shot selection stuff like that does exist in his game. But statistically, he really wasn't having a horrible year, and he was actually leading the Lakers in plus minus. Efficiency hasn't been great, but he's been okay, I think, as a whole for the most part for this Lakers team. A guy who's at least going to come in and give you real bench scoring ability, and his assist to turnover ratio is good. He's a legitimately capable playmaker, and a guy who I think is a little bit underrated around the league at this point because of the narrative around his game that he is a non-winning player or a selfish player. I don't think losing him is a killer or a backbreaker for the Lakers, but I think he's an asset that was actually a pretty important part of some of their success this year. The thing that I like about this trade is, number one, D'Lo was coming off the bench anyway. The lineup they've been running with Reeves at the 1, Max Christie, LeBron, Rui, and AD seems to be a lineup that had been having more success as of late, and having Max Christie as that primary ball handler defender, that primary point of attack defender has been a point of emphasis recently for the Lakers, and it's been something that with guys like him and Cam Reddish, they have been able to be a little bit more of that defensive stopper that the Lakers have needed as of late. And then you add another guy in Dorian Finney-Smith who's going to continue to help further that defense, and all of a sudden the Lakers could quickly go from one of the worst defenses in the league to a league average to maybe even above average defensive team. Obviously, D'Lo has never been a super strong defender in his own right, but the best part about Dorian Finney-Smith is he is shooting 43.5% from 3 this year on over 5 attempts a game, a career high. He's always been a pretty good shooter. He was up to about a 40% three-point shooter his last couple seasons in Dallas. These last couple years in Brooklyn has not been quite as good, but this year has been awesome. He is a really confident guy, a guy you can play 30 minutes a night in a playoff series, and I have confidence that he will knock down big shots, play high-level defense, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands a ton. He's not really a big-time playmaker. But on a team that already has playmaking with Reeves, LeBron, even AD with the ball in his hands, that's not a huge need. And he can come in and play whatever role is needed. If he comes off the bench for Hachimura, that's okay. He can come in and be a defensive stopper and be an impact guy in 20 to 25 minutes a night. And if he winds up being a starter, and if he winds up, maybe somebody gets hurt, he winds up playing 35 minutes a game, he can do that too. He's a guy who's going to come in and play whatever role is requested of him without complaint, be a great teammate, really likable player. Fans are going to love him. I miss him in Dallas still to this day. Dorian Finney-Smith was an awesome Dallas Maverick, and I wish he was coming back to the Mavs. The fact he's a Laker kind of makes me a little sad, because as a Mavs fan, I was kind of hoping we'd get him back this year. But either way, it's the type of addition that fills one of the Lakers' biggest need, which is, again, that high-level wing defense and wing shooting type of role player. It's a very valuable archetype of player, and the fact that he's shooting this well from 3 and the Nets still didn't get a first-round pick for him, I think he's a little disappointing for the Nets, but for the Lakers, the fact they managed to maintain both of their first-round picks that they have available to trade is important because it provides them with the versatility to go out and try to make more moves as well. And honestly, the Shake Milton addition is one that's very much going to go under the radar compared to the swap of DFS, D'Lo, the picks, all that type of stuff. But Shake Milton's having a real bounce back year. He's a guy who's kind of floated around the fringes of the league the last couple of years, really has not been an impactful NBA player in probably 3 seasons or so. But he's shooting almost 40% from 3 this year. He's averaging 7.5 points a game. He's always been a microwave scorer off the bench. There was a stretch there in Philadelphia where I feel like he was actually a really, really nice bench piece for that team. And the question with him is the shooting consistency, because he's had stretches in his career where he's been a 40% three-point shooter. And then he's had stretches in his career where he's been a 30-something, like 32, 33% three-point shooter. If he can come in and shoot the 3 ball at a high level off the bench, he's a guy who will actually get run on the Lakers as a bench scoring option. And I think he could actually wind up being a decent addition for this team, even if it's only 10 to 15 minutes a game. Having a guy like Shake who can come off the bench and get you buckets, if he continues to play well the way that he has in Brooklyn recently, I think there is a role for him on the Lakers as well. And I think he might actually be one of those guys who can come in and pick up a little bit of the scoring slack for D'Angelo Russell. I mean, you look at his recent games, with the exception of that Miami game, 5 for 10, 5 for 10, 7 of 10, 5 for 9, 3 of 6 from 3, 4 of 6 from 3, 1 of 4 from 3, 16, 20, 11, and 12 points in 4 of his last 5 games. He's putting up numbers. He's passing the ball. I mean, he had 12 assists a game in his last game for the Nets. That was a nice little performance right there. Assist to turnover ratio, while at a low level, is actually very elite. 2 to 4. 2.4 to 0.7 is over a 3 to 1 assist to turnover ratio, which is really good. And he's a guy who can actually come in and be a bench scoring guard, bench playmaking guard in a small sample size. When Austin Reeves goes off the court, when you need somebody else to plug in and inject a little bit more offense to this Lakers team, I think he can come in and fill that role. Almost be a budget D'Angelo Russell in a lot of ways. I think is a good role for him. And he's the type of guy who might wind up being a sneaky under the radar addition for this Lakers team as well. But my favorite thing about this trade is just the fact that Dorian Finney-Smith has been, by a decent chunk, the most impactful net this entire season. The Nets are 16 points per 100 possessions better with Dorian Finney-Smith on the court than off the court. That is in the 98th percentile of every single NBA player in the league. He has been one of the best on-off NBA players in the entire league this year. Significantly better offensively and significantly better defensively. When the Nets have been, I should say, when Dorian Finney-Smith is on the court this year. And his ability to impact the court in both ways, offensively and defensively, is really huge for this team. I think he's the perfect role player for really any NBA team, but he certainly is going to come in and fill a lot of needs for this Lakers roster. And I think this trade, considering they managed to not give up a first-round pick, is going to wind up being a successful one for a Lakers team that is playing better as of late. For the Nets, just real quickly, I have to say I'm kind of disappointed by the return that they've been able to get. They've basically traded Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith for a net of 5 second-round picks: D'Angelo Russell, injured D'Anthony Melton, and Maxwell Lewis. I don't love that haul, in all honesty, for this team. I just realistically think that that's kind of meh. But D'Lo was awesome in Brooklyn. Maybe he'll be able to rejuvenate his career over there a little bit and find his role again, because that was where he was really at his best as a player, was when he was a Brooklyn Net. So that could be kind of fun to watch. With that being said, that's going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.